All right, here we go. Jason Lee, at long last. Welcome to VladTV.
Thanks for having me.
Me and you actually go back
We do.
like 4 or 5 years.
We do. I mean, you're an OG in the game. You know this shit more than we do. So I always try to pull on people who have the experience that I don't have, and you've clearly been doing it.
Well, I've always done this, whether it's Charlemagne, Adam 22, Sean Cotton from Say Cheese, and yourself. I look for people that are starting to buzz and really look like they're really serious about this craft. I try to reach out to them early, and you're one of the people that I've done that. You know, when I first saw you kind of popping, I called you. We started to meet up. We had like a couple lunches or actually dinners.
We did.
We did some dinners, kind of had a little media, a little group.
And I'll never forget in that dinner you said to me, and I always laugh when I think about that dinner. You said it was me, you, and the owner of Hip Hop DX, and you said, "Have you ever been sued?" I'm like, "Nah, I've never been sued. The hell you mean I've been sued?" I think you hexed me because I literally got sued every week after that dinner. And I've been sued so much, but I've learned a lot in the lawsuit. So
I mean, it comes with it.
yeah, it is.
It just comes with it. When you do this type of work at a high level, lawsuits just come with it. At first, it freaks you out, and you're like, "Oh no, I'm gonna,
now
become bankrupt." And then you're like, "Okay, it's just like anything
now
else."
I'm like, what's for lunch?
What's for lunch? Past asparagus. Well, this is your first time here, so I want to start in the beginning. And I realized until actually doing the research, I didn't know your backstory, and it's quite an intense backstory. So I want to start in the very beginning. So you were born and raised in Stockton.
Correct.
And you had a white mother and a black father.
Correct.
But they were never married.
They were never even, I don't think, in a relationship.
Yeah. And in fact, your father was married to someone else.
And is still married to that same woman.
Right. And he had 7 kids.
Out of that marriage, and 2 with her, yeah.
So he had more kids with other women than with his own wife.
Correct.
Okay. And your mother is Italian and Greek.
Yep.
Your dad is African American.
Correct.
But your mother actually had a very rough upbringing. I guess she was raped by her own father?
She was molested by her father for years and abused by her mother. Her mother didn't believe that she was molested by her father. And I think that caused a lot of her early onset psychological stuff. And then, of course, she spiraled into drugs, and she had a very difficult life.
Okay. Do you remember when you first started seeing the drug use and being aware of it?
Yeah, I mean, when you're young, you're raised with your family, things seem normal. But then again, when you look back, you don't really know what normal is because that's all you know. I mean, we had Christmases, we had Easters, we had birthday parties, we had the cakes, we had the clowns, we had the gifts. And then the gifts stop coming, and then the toys start being sold, and then you lose your apartment, and then your mother loses her job, and then you end up in foster care. So, I do remember the early years when she started to get heavily into drugs, and her first drug was cocaine, and then it was heroin, and then eventually crack. And during the crack epidemic back in the late 80s, early 90s, I mean, there was no coming back from that, and so yeah, I remember early on when things were good, and then when things were not good.
She actually became a prostitute at one point to feed her drug habit.
She did.
And you actually saw her in bed with a client.
I did. That was, I'd see people come in and out of the house. Ironically, I met my first trans person, was this woman named Sparkle, and who was her friend, who somehow was staying with us too. It was really weird. But I remember just seeing so many different people around. And then when we got kicked out the apartment and we ended up in a motel, I still used to run the streets a lot, and I was only 7, 8 at the time. But when I came back that one time that I talk about in my book, God must have forgotten about me. She had somebody there, and she wasn't happy that I walked in on them, and I became, I became the enemy, I guess, at some point, because she just didn't like the fact that I was disrupting her program. But yeah, that was interesting.